welcome back to the Cover 3 podcast here on CBS Sports. That's Tom Fornelli, that's Bud Elliott, that's Danny Kanell. I'm Chip Patterson, coming to you live at youtube.com/cover3 and everywhere you get your podcasts on demand. Thanks for hanging out. Smash that subscribe, smash that like, and come and join us in the chat, a.k.a. the Cover 3 Tailgate, where we are fired up about 5 plus 11, 4-4-2-2-1-1 hike, and so much more. Also, some MLB draft commentary coming through, which I appreciate. Didn't follow the event myself, but not going to yuck your yum. We've got too much yum coming your way here because big week, of course, the SEC Media Days is going to be kind of taking over the college football conversation, propaganda, things of that nature. We, of course, will be diving into. We also have a look. We enjoy spotlighting some of the work on CBSSports.com because I know that not everybody here can read. It's a huge challenge for me to be able to do it. But Tom had an excellent piece on Haynes King, unbudgeted, unprompted. What had him throwing out thousands of words of praise for Georgia Tech's quarterback? We'll get into that and so much more. But I want to begin with an item which kind of just had me sort of tilt my head like a dog that had heard a strange whistle, because I am vaguely aware that former Texas A&M defensive lineman Shemar Stewart, drafted by the Cincinnati Bengals, is dealing with a contract holdout situation. It is, based on my understanding, down to some language. There are, reputations, fair or unfair, about the Cincinnati Bengals and the way that they conduct their finances. I just kind of filed it away, like, oh, okay, Cincinnati, not meeting the players' demands. But Bud, you suggested something that kind of caught me off guard. How does this? Me
too.
Yeah, how does this relate to college football?
Yeah, so this caught me off guard as well. I was in the backyard with the boys on Saturday it was, and guy who has had some good A&M stuff in the past, he hit me. He's like, "Hey, Shemar might end up back here." I was like, okay. I was like, he's been at College Station. He's been fully involved in workouts, blah, blah, blah. He's holding out for the Bengals. Relationship's toxic, blah, 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 blah. Like, he could try to come back and play again this season and then go into the draft again next year. Remember, he came out early. And I was like, how is that even legal?
How does it work?
He's like, it may not be legal yet. But then again, everything in the NCAA ecosphere is subject to litigation. So I didn't know you could do this. I knew you could do this in baseball.
Right.
If you got drafted, you didn't like your pick. Maybe you didn't like the team that you got picked for. But I don't know why you could do it in baseball and not football. I mean, you'd probably have to go to court. But
can I chime in?
Yeah.
Because I never want to say never, but I think there is about a 0.0000001% chance that he's allowed to do this, because it's one thing when you hear everybody they're puffing their chest out about suing the NCAA and suing the CSC and fighting all these cases. It's another thing to fight the NFL. And that's going to be the biggest hiccup, is the NFL. This is part of their agreement, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's where you throw a wrench into everything we've ever known. I would love to see it be a case, and all of a sudden, if he wins, what it would mean, because like you said, but almost every draft, I've always proposed this idea, like, why can't they? It'd be great for the players. If we're supposed to be player friendly, let's let them truly see where they get drafted. It gives them leverage. It helps them make a better decision. If they don't get drafted where they thought they were going to be, they can go back to college. And selfishly, it's the best for the college game, right? You get guys kind of like Shemar Stewart that would come back. I just think this would be unprecedented if he's able to win this case.
I think if he tried, he would get back in. I think
he would win too.
Yeah, I think just the way things have gone with eligibility rules, he would probably win if it went to court. Now, the question would be, how much time would it take? But, would he play while they were waiting for it all to settle itself? But I think the reason you've never seen players go to the NFL and become first-round draft picks and then return to college is because the money was never on the table to make it worthwhile for him before. Whereas now, if he came back, he could actually get some money from Texas A&M to play. So it would help offset what he's losing in the NFL. Where I think the other side of it works is, and I don't think it'll happen because I don't think it makes sense, is I was reading up on the situation since Bud texted it to us this morning. If he does go back to college, the Bengals retain his draft rights. So even if he played for another year, he wouldn't be able to re-enter the draft. So he would still have to be in a deal with the Bengals. So it would just be a situation where you either have to figure out the contract or they can trade his rights during the season while he's in Texas A&M. So that's what would be buying time. So I think ultimately he's going to end up being a Bengal by the time the regular season starts.
I agree. I think this is probably just a leverage play, right? But it's a much greater leverage play than it used to be because now you can make money in college.
Yeah, right.
I mean, you get a first rounder to come back, that's going to cost you a couple million, and I'm sure A&M would happily pay that if they could. But I think the Bengals can also trade his rights to somebody else, right?
Yeah.
So I would be shocked if he goes back, but I would not be shocked if he tried to go back. I would not be shocked if he actually won his case.
And the case is based on the fact that, like, it's apparently the Bengals want to put in some language that would negate some of his guarantees, like with injuries or something, which every other team in the NFL has, but the Bengals have never had it. And now the Bengals are trying to put it in, and he just doesn't want to be the first person in the Bengals history to like set that precedent.
Is that because they think the Bengals will use it?
Yes. 100,000%.
Like the Bengals are
Bengals would definitely use
the guy out of it.
Yeah.
And everybody
Yes.
else.
God,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah. Do other teams use it, or is it just in there?
I don't know. But
I don't
the
know if
Bengals'
NFL
reputation is that they would definitely use it if given the chance to save a few $1 million.
Okay.
And he's
They
got
are
pretty
like
good.
they're one of the mom and pop operations that are still kind of left in the league, the few of them.
He's got pretty good leverage. I think this is a leverage play because Trey Hendrickson still isn't signed. Like, they got some issues going on. The thing's interesting about Shemar Stewart, if you remember, he looks like Tarzan plays like Jane at the combine. You know, like, I mean, he tested off the charts. He's a freak, but the numbers don't really back it up. I don't know. It's not helping him as far as in that category, because that's where I wonder. This is where I think you could see kind of the collusion. I know that's always accused, because no team is going to want a player to have this type of leverage. That's why I don't know if you'd see a trade for his rights, because no one wants to see this precedent set.
That's fair. Whether he would accept the trade or not to a team that is already utilizing this clause would probably tell us a lot about, like, he's like, I'm anti-clause, or I'm anti-like signing with the Bengals with this clause because they're going to try to screw me. Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, I thought it was interesting, and certainly, like, he's a really good player. I don't know, like, I mean, maybe nothing happens there.
And like him working out at A&M is not unusual. You know, a lot of guys will work out at their school until they get, until they go to camp. So that's not crazy. But I do think this is a really
working out with the team, though.
All right, that's interesting. It is a very contentious negotiation, that's for sure. So it's not surprising that this is out there.
So what last? Oh no, go ahead, Tom.
No, mine's not important. Go.
Okay. Last thing. Is there any? Is it just so blind? You just say yes. Like if you are Mike Elko, you just say yes.
Yes. Hell yes.
Why not?
Hell yes.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Can I have my first round talent back for another year? I don't know. I've got this freshman I really like.
They also lost a couple other good teams. Not lose. Like,
the Bears drafted the right Shemar. Cincinnati drafted the wrong one. Clearly.
Yeah. No, this even no matter if. The 1.5 sacks last year. I mean, there was a joke there, like, oh, what if he does come back? What's he going to do? Have 2.5 sacks? But no, I think that
say it to his face, Chip.
Big bodies matter, especially in the Southeastern Conference, and I think that Mike Elko would in fact say yes very, very quickly if given the opportunity to do that.
Mike Elko's the one calling him, saying it. Hey, what if you came back for another year?
Hello.
We got a great legal team here at A&M.
Sun Belt, though. Listen, I saw like our beloved MAC. Like there was this is maybe some bubbling up about some MAC institutions that were maybe trying to make a run at Texas State's spot. We'd heard conversations that Louisiana Tech might not have the votes, but whatever had to happen, happened. And the Sun Belt is going to be extending an invitation to Louisiana Tech to replace Texas State. Current reporting indicates, based on what I can tell, is that Conference USA will not seek at this time a replacement for Louisiana Tech. Tom, good addition, sensible addition, I guess, is maybe the way we package this one.
Yeah, we've talked about it already. I think this makes sense for the Sun Belt, just in their history of the way they've done things, geography and caring about it matters. And I don't know if I would put Louisiana Tech in that same level as far as fan involvement. At least recently, I feel like it maybe hit a slip, whereas it used to be a lot stronger. But I think that could be just, the program not being as good. I do think that they could get it back, but I think it makes sense for the league, far more sense than it would have made to add like Ohio, which was one of the MAC teams that we were talking about as being like a possibility.
I agree. Like, are you excited about getting Louisiana Tech? I don't know.
I will admit that in my own fandom of the Sun Belt, I am obsessed with the East Division. Just in general, that they're like one of the last conferences that's still using divisions makes it unique. But the East is where you get your JMU, your App State, your Georgia State, your Georgia Southern. Coastal is over there. Like I'm sort of whatever happens in the West is almost like you're trading out Texas State for Louisiana Tech. I still think that, you've got some of the usual players that you would expect to be strong on that side of the conference. But sensible, at least for, travel purposes. Spending money on players and everything else.
It's consistent with what the Sun Belt has tried to do. Like the American was very much leaning into, let's get big cities, big brands. Even if we only get a very small fraction of some of these large cities, people to care about us, that's still a lot of folks. The Sun Belt was like, no, let's get small places where we don't have competition for the most part from professional franchises, like traditional, more college towns that are drivable within that. And I think you see that as well as like Sun Belt baseball is way better than American baseball, right? Like those are kind of more regional, type sports. Ruston, Louisiana, to various schools in the Sun Belt. So App State's too far away. That's 500 miles. Arc State's under 300. Coastal, no. Georgia Southern is 800 miles from Ruston, Louisiana. That seem right? GPT? I don't know. Georgia State, 500-ish. Louisiana Monroe, obviously less than an hour drive. Lafayette, 2.5, 3 hours. University of Arkansas at Little Rock, which is not a Sun Belt school, GPT. Thank you. Under 3. So anyway,
GPT messes up college sports.
Dude.
We have found like
Grok
one of
is
the
way better than
AI.
GPT for college. I should use Grok. My typing's loud today, so I didn't want to. I got to figure out what's going on with these mic settings.
You know what?
They wanted to make their own YouTube show as far as ripping cards and stuff, and I was like, all right, but
wait, the boys are making their own YouTube show?
They wanted to make their own YouTube show about ripping cards. They were watching it on TV, and I was like, all right, whatever. You guys can try it. Terrible. We need a lot of work. A lot of work. Lot of work. They don't really show the card to the camera. They just like put their head down, read it, and like, do you like him? He's like, no. I'm like, all right, cool. And then they put it over here, and they're not really like holding it like you probably should. And so we're gonna have to practice cards, I think, for that. And they made a rare pile and a non-rare pile, so at least they know what this like. They try to act like the show they watch, but they don't really. The timing's weird.
That's beautiful. That's
They just turned 6.
Save all those outtakes because when they've got millions of subscribers and they're just making us look small, small time, they just save it.
Exactly.
Is anybody so? I know we have a TV deal with them, CBS does, but Conference USA, is it just me or does it look like FCS Plus?
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, that's where they've gotten their schools. It is
right.
And
that's it's already kind of the lowest tier group of 5. But man, they're hanging on by a thread.
Yeah.
It is like the JUCO of FBS conferences.
Right.
And now that
it puts out a great TV product. Like I love watching me some.
Yes.
Well, and the fact that the talent keeps getting hoovered in an upward direction.
Right.
It's a little bit tough. Danny, so we've gotten a little bit more clarity. Of course, last week, Big 12 Media Days, we got to hear from BYU head coach Kalani Sitake. He, did his we wish the best for Jake Retzlaff. We thank him for what he's done for the program. This is a private matter. Jake Retzlaff has announced his withdrawal from school. It's a little interesting because he could enroll at a new school and even be put on scholarship without necessarily having to utilize the transfer portal. I mean, Dane, what do we do with the BYU at on the market right now? Any team? I mean, what landing spots? Where does your mind drift when it comes to Jake Retzlaff's situation?
Not to a top tier job. Yeah. Like I don't think he's going to a top half of the Power 4 type school. I think this is interesting though. So is he a graduate? Is that how he's doing this?
Yes.
He's got to be, right?
My understanding,
so,
yeah.
Yeah. Because otherwise it's like, why is there a portal if you can just drop out and re-enroll at another place? But if you're a graduate, you can do that. The market, I think there's two things. One, and it is like, I loved his story, but I do think his story, being the Jewish kid at a Mormon school, made it, he got a lot more attention, and you feel it's a feel-good story at the time.
They made T-shirts.
It's a great story. I don't think he would have been a hot commodity. He probably would have had better options, but then so you throw in that plus the off the field issues that you're dealing with, and we don't know really all the details there, but I don't think there's going to be a lot of great options for him.
Do you know who should sign this kid?
Kentucky is what Danny
Texas
says. Texas Tech. What, Texas Tech?
Think about it. Like,
depth?
Morton is constantly banged up or out with injury. Like, Texas Tech has to get to the championship game this year. Joey McGuire said it himself. Like, having a competent backup, I mean, he might be better than Morton. I don't know. But, like, legit quarterback battle for a guy that's always hurt. Like, Texas Tech's got a ton of money. I would go to Texas Tech, get a check. You take Kentucky?
Danny in the tailgate, he said Kentucky should sign him. Because right now we're talking about Zach Calzada.
Zach Calzada.
Yeah.
But he's also not going to media day, which there's a couple guys. Yeah.
Let's dig in on that real quick before we hit a break, because I know that you wanted to point out a couple to the audience that stood out. I'm glad the way that you phrased it, because I don't think it's a big deal with all of the instances that you suggested. But let's run through. Let's ask the group.
All right, no Marcel Reed, I think, is very telling for A&M.
At Texas A&M.
Yeah, I don't know that he's going to hold that job for the whole year. I'm not sure that he's awesome.
Is that your analysis informed by other coaches, or is that like?
Well,
is that anything coming out of spring practice? Is that anything?
No, nothing out of spring practice. Just like I don't think he's that great. Like they didn't send him. To me, if you don't send your quarterback and he's not like I get Joey Aguilar from Tennessee not going. Okay, right. He just got there and he'd be asked tons of Nico questions, especially since Nico went to UCLA. I kind of get Kentucky not sending Calzada, right? Because he kind of just got there and he's not very good, whatever. Like, Pitt didn't send Holstein. Is Holstein going to hold that job this year? I don't think so. I bet you there's a good chance he gets benched.
Is that because of Holstein or because you've got belief in the rest of the room?
I think he kind of turned back into a pumpkin, if you want to use the Cinderella analogy. Like, he was pretty bad down the stretch.
Maybe there was like a tight end meeting he couldn't miss.
Yeah, if you don't send your quarterback, I'm kind of like, all right, it does make me kind of perk. Now, some of these situations I understand, like Wake Forest probably has legit quarterback battle, right?
Yeah.
But some of these others, like that one kind of makes me think a little bit.
All right, I will say that I know I suggested this in text, but like, I think some of these coaches just have different ways that they view their media days representatives. And I just think you've got enough different approaches to that, Mike Elko not sending Marcel Reed, who, by the way, is a second-year player?
Yeah, he's a sophomore.
Yeah, I mean, the guys that Texas A&M's bringing.
Though, right? Because remember, he played in that bowl game against Oklahoma State, and it's a dome. It had to be like Houston Stadium, I think. Or was it like the Reliant Bowl?
Texas Bowl,
the Texas Bowl, something. That would have been at the end of 23.
But still less
Some coaches only bring like senior captains.
Yeah, less experience than the guys Texas A&M are bringing, which is like graduate, senior, and junior. There are some coaches that are going to be valuing. There are some coaches that are going to value like whatever their little internal profile or honor roll, or like who lifted the best is going to get that free trip and all the food, things like that.
Oh, I think speaking of guys who were competing against Marcel Reed prior. I do have a photo of Connor Wegman sent to me, updated, looking very fit.
Nice.
Like
Good
extremely fit.
Good for Connor.
Yeah, like legit.
Great for Willie Fritz. Good for
I think that's one, like if we did a segment, who could be this year's Arizona State, I would probably go Houston.
That changes my opinion about that team materially. If he's actually can move around, because Willie Fritz does like to run the quarterback a little bit. Like, right. That's.
Oh, he's ripped.
That guy, there's no like gut on that guy like he had at A&M last year in that college game day segment.
Why is he wearing a T-shirt though, bud? If he was,
he's really ripped.
I just want to see the sports bra. I don't want a t-shirt on underneath it.
On the flip side, what if he's too ripped? I mean, Patrick Mahomes has a dad bod, and he's the best guy in the NFL
True.
right now. So
It's
maybe
true.
that
Facts.
for the quarterbacks.
Only
that
one
aren't-
person. Never mind. I'm not going to make that joke.
I would be pissed if I was a guy who started last year at anything over 8 games. If I was like the starter and there was, even if there was a light competition, but I was the guy, I would be pissed if I wasn't going to SEC Media Days. Now, Chip, I think you make a really good point. I think it's also interesting the SEC brings 3. We had some teams brought 6 to Big 12 Media Days. And so coaches will use Media Days as a reward for a 4th-year, 5th-year player who's been maybe he's graduated, he's been the consummate leader for the team, and somebody who never gets any press. They will do that. So I think that, I don't think it's the ultimate red flag, but I do think the quarterback should be the face of your franchise. And I think he should be there. And if he's not, I do think I would be pissed if I was the quarterback. And if I'm the fan base, I'm a little bit suspect on why he's not going.
And he might be in hot water,
Exactly.
Guess what? Probably had a summer school schedule, and or maybe there was something. It was a workout. There was there could be any number of things internally, the way that players are players and coaches and teams are all handled. I will say the team leader who you've never heard of who shows up often will just be a banger of an interview. I mean, your editors aren't going to be so thrilled that you spent 15 minutes talking to this guy, but man, this guy's got a lot of personality. You get the juices flowing. He starts talking about his teammates. It can, I generally like it when we get some time with those kind of players as well. All right, one player who is going to be representing his school as the returning starting quarterback is Georgia Tech's Haynes King. A look ahead at King's 2025 and SEC Media Day storylines and more.
Next.
Name's Conrad Harrigan, family man. And if you cross my family, well, you'd better pray.
Mobland, new series streaming March 30th on Paramount Plus.
Back here on the Cover 3 podcast as on CBSSports.com. Tom Fornelli always does a great job of being able to identify some of the topics, some of the angles that stand out, and being able to put them into words that some of us are able to read. If you haven't gone to check out the whole story, then I would definitely suggest this as part of this experience. We'll put the link in the description. But Tom, what moved you to really want to highlight and celebrate Haynes King last week?
I was just doing some research on stuff just for other prep stories, getting ready for the year. And I've also, for the last few years, I've been tinkering with my own quarterback rating stat, which is based more on what college quarterbacks do, trying to find a rating that could encompass passing efficiency and QBR and those kind of things are mostly based on a quarterback's ability as a passing, throwing the football, his numbers. I've been trying to create a stat that in camp, it also brings in their rushing ability. It also brings in their ability to avoid sacks and all that kind of stuff. And it's far from complete, but I track it. And I was just going through the data and I noticed, it just dawned on me, or not dawned on me, but I noticed that Haynes King had the highest in this unnamed stat so far of any of the returning quarterbacks from last season. So I was like, so I dug a little further into and it just started making sense, because when you look at him as a passer, he was out of the qualified Power 4 quarterbacks in the country last year, he was dead last in air yards per attempt. Okay. Nobody is asking Haynes King to throw the ball down the field because he just doesn't have the arm strength to do it. But what Buster Faulkner, Georgia Tech's offensive coordinator, did was he built the passing offense to King's strengths and had him making throws he could, that he was capable of making. And then just his ability to use his legs as a rusher, but also avoiding sacks. And when he does get sacked, he barely loses any yardage. I don't have the number off the top of my head, but I think he averaged negative 2.7 yards per sack, which is incredible because he would scramble, he'd break a tackle, he'd get close to the line of scrimmage before he'd finally go down. So when you put it all together, he's a quarterback who, and I put myself firmly in this camp. When it comes to evaluating a quarterback, a lot of us too often kind of look at them as NFL projections. Is what they're going to do. And like I said, I firmly put myself in that camp, whereas I want to try to find a way to evaluate these guys just as college quarterbacks. Their future be damned. Like, how good are they for what they're asked to do in their offense and their ability level? And Haynes King does so many things where he doesn't make the incredible off-platform rocket throws, but just moving the chains with his legs and then also using his legs to keep his team from getting too far behind the chains. Like when he does get sacked, like I said, he's only losing 2 yards. So instead of being in 2nd and 16, you're in 2nd and 12. It's really not that big of a deal. You can still overcome it. And I just think that is a kind of underappreciated kind of stat. And then also when you get to the red zone, his ability to use his legs to help finish drives. He also doesn't turn the ball over at all. Like, he only had 2 or 3 interceptions last year, 2 interceptions last season, based on looking at the chart right now. Thank you for putting that up, Mikey. And he also, I remember too, like, you look at those stats, he missed 2 games and he was banged up for a lot of the later part of the year. So he wasn't used. And then also go back to that Georgia game, man. Woo! Watch Georgia Tech versus Georgia and tell me who the best quarterback in that game was. I'll tell you, it was Haynes King. He was the one that he to quote the Greg Jennings Madden thing, he put the team on his back. he was carrying. So I was just looking at all these numbers. I was like, damn, Haynes King is kind of good. And, you see like people put out in their offseason content, like, top 10 quarterbacks. It's like Haynes King's on some of them. He's not on nearly enough of them. Just based on everybody we left and who's coming back, I don't think Haynes King was getting nearly the amount of attention he deserved. So I was like, all right, I'm going to write about Haynes King and give this kid some love, because I liked him, but I never really dug into his numbers until last week. And I was like, damn, okay, Haynes, I see you now. So I wrote about it.
I loved it. And like, if you look at Haynes King, he's got that like, hey, I'm super old. I know what I'm good at. I'm a college football player. I can't play pro football. I'm going to go out there and bust my ass and play as hard as I can all the time. And luckily for Tech, like, they love the backup too. So they don't have to baby Haynes King. Like, they let him play like Haynes King should play. I guess my one worry, as you mentioned, like the air yard stuff, one of the guys that made things happen after the catch on all of those screens and short passes is now playing for Auburn. So like, they might be a little bit less dynamic this year. And that's also a team that just had great chemistry last year. Like, you could tell sometimes if you're not around the locker room, you can kind of watch the teams and be like, man, they play hard. And like, they know what the hell they're supposed to be doing. They go out there and they play together and they play hard. Everybody's like pretty selfless with it. I thought that was very much Tech last year. And I don't know that that's always something that can repeat year to year. So I do kind of wonder about that. Like, different teams are just different each year. And having your leader back probably helps a ton in kind of facilitating that mindset. But yeah, man, that's a tough kid. He's really good at college football, which is what we cover.
I love the take. I think he's one of the more underrated quarterbacks. I think it was the lock spot I gave out. I thought Georgia Tech against Notre Dame. It was in Atlanta. I thought that was a great. And then all of a sudden we found out he wasn't playing. I was like, oh crap, that's a loser. Like, I think he's just. It's kind of the cliche, but I think he's clutch. Like, when they need a play to be made in a lot of third downs, a lot of red zone stuff, and that was on display in the overtime game against Georgia. But also remember him going against Diego Pavia in the quagmire, the bowl game, and he was really solid in that game too. Like, in bad conditions, he was making throws when they were to be there. I got a question for you though, Tom. If it wasn't him, like, that's one thing I was looking for in the article was, is there a list of guys that fit this category? Because there's another quarterback I was thinking of, like, if I was going to make a case, I would say Kevin Jennings isn't getting enough love and is kind of flying under the radar. And I think it's in large part because he was so bad in the bowl game or in the playoffs against Penn State. Like, that was an awful game. Well, there were a couple drops early, but I just think he's getting completely overlooked for the impact he had at SMU.
Yeah, Kevin Jennings had some good numbers, but I would say the one guy who really came up time and time again in the same areas that I was looking at with King, although not quite to the same level on certain ones, is not a name that's unfamiliar with this show. He plays quarterback for the Baylor Bears.
Yep.
His name is Sawyer Robertson. He's very similar numbers in that and kind of underlooked in that. As far as my unnamed QB stat, he's actually second behind King among returners. But to put a little more context on King's ability to avoid losing yards by, his sack avoidance kind of situation, I just looked it up. I found the article. I was able to find it. He was sacked on only 2.5% of his dropbacks last year, which was third among Power 4 quarterbacks. But the real part is he was sacked 7 times. He lost 17 yards total on those 7 sacks. So 2.43 yards lost per sack. The next lowest number of any qualified quarterback was Rocco Becht at 4.38. So you're basically looking at a difference of 2 yards per sack on average between Haynes King and anybody else in the country, which is huge, especially when you're on a team like Georgia Tech. And you can't afford, like the way that offense works, they can't afford to be in long-term, like 3rd and long. That's not going to work for them. So he keeps them out of those situations. I just think that overall, he is an incredible fit for what they're doing in that offense, both him to them and the way that they build the offense around him. I think it makes him a very unique and dangerous team. I
liked the Ukber. Can we call it the Ukber, or do you think you're going to pivot and actually give it a name? Because it's UQB.
That's what I called it in the article.
Yeah, the Ukber.
If I ever get it to a point where I feel like it's worth publicly sharing, I'll probably name it after a college quarterback.
Because Curtis Rourke, being one of the nation's leaders in this stat, kind of checked out to tell you what kind of traits we're looking for here. You know, like that's.
And Cam Ward was number 1 overall, which won't surprise anybody.
Yeah, and guess what? It also celebrates the number 1 overall NFL draft pick. I'll throw this one out there. Definite vibes play, but I think the competitiveness, I think that comes from Brent Key. Like, obviously, Haynes King is a part of that, and Jamal Haynes. And that goes back to when he took over midseason. And then, like, the team just kind of rallied around him, and they scored a couple big wins right towards the end of that after he took over for Jeff Collins. He gets the full-time job. You know, they've had all these big moments. I think that Haynes King and Brent Key has been sort of a perfect marriage of old quarterback leader and a head coach who's trying to instill a mentality that Georgia Tech needs if Georgia Tech's going to be, you know, competing with the best teams in the ACC. So, yeah, check it out. Haynes King, the most underrated quarterback at FBS, and the Ukber, the unnamed quarterback rating, UQBR. You can go find it at cbssports.com.
Kevin Jennings was 33rd, by the way, nationally in that stat.
Wow.
They also lost their top 3 tight ends from last year. Like those, they would get a lot of like double tight sets and just do like a bunch of like mature 22, 23-year-old dudes who are now gone.
You sound not as bullish on.
Yeah, I know.
I mean,
Here comes hating ass Bud.
I'm just like, I don't know. Like,
who do you hate more, Haynes King or Marcel Reed?
I don't think that they can be better this year than they were last year.
Marcel Reed. Let's find out. Marcel Reed ranked.
I bet he's
48th.
Ooh.
And the other thing about Kevin Jennings was he, against Clemson too, had a bad start. He had a great, you know, he kind of roared SMU back into the game in the ACC championship game, but you know, SMU played two playoff teams last year, right? And that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Tech's schedule was nuts.
Oh, Georgia Tech's schedule is always nuts.
Yes.
Like Tech's schedule was nuts. They do lose both tackles. They lose their center. And they lose their top 3 tight ends. Like, that's just a lot of guys who could secure the edge. And obviously, the center doesn't secure the edge, but like, that's a lot of guys who would take care of stuff for them last year. And I just wonder.
It's a fun opener too, on the road Friday night at Colorado.
Hell yeah!
And that's probably the one thing that you're actually the most confident in with Colorado is defensive line.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Or defense in general. I would say that.
Football fan, in my opinion.
Are you confident in the secondary?
I mean, I think they've gotten better.
Well, in one spot, they're definitely better, but in one spot, also considerably worse.
Right. Oh, yes. Well, obviously, they had.
If you're getting like one free turnover a game, that does help. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Like that's a net negative to lose Travis Hunter, but also to lose Shiloh.
Ultimately, yes.
Like, it still nets out as yes.
Yes. All right. Coming up on the other side, we turn our attention to the ongoings in Atlanta. We're at the College Football Hall of Fame. Greg Sankey got things started with his annual address. We've got a couple of teams that have gotten some time at the podium as well. But what are we looking for from the SEC Media Days in 2025? We'll get into all that and more
next.
Get ready.
Wait a second. I thought we were going tubing.
All 3 Sonic the Hedgehog movies and Knuckles are now streaming on Paramount Plus.
And everyone loves it.
Every adventure.
Just try to keep up.
Every face-off.
This ends now.
And every moment that will have you saying,
Where have you been? My entire life!
It's showtime!
All 3 Sonic the Hedgehog movies and the entire Sonic universe are now streaming on Paramount Plus.
back here on the Cover 3 podcast. Nice little reminder of what we've got coming up next week, which will be the Cover 3 podcast live at Big Ten Media Days on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. We will be having full shows that you can see on CBS Sports Network. We'll have interviews, team breakdowns, picks, all the things that you know and love about our coverage of the Big Ten and its Media Days event. So again, that will be Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday for next week. Cover 3 live from Big Ten Media Days. All right, we're off and running into SEC. Danny, you got us started. You laid out the appetizer, just to make sure everyone's prepared for the onslaught. A lot of our friends are there, are covering the event. What have you picked up on so far that has stood out to you from the opening hours of SEC Media Days?
If I set the total of how many times you're going to hear we have the best or toughest conference in the country at 9,407, I would take the over all day long. I think they are really going to harp on that. It's already something they had at spring media, at spring meetings in Destin. Sankey's already, hammering that one. They're defending the 8-game schedule. I think you're going to see even more, and they always do. It's not like it's not a surprise. And that if I was them, you could argue that's what they should be doing. Is talking about how tough because they're already prepping for the selection committee. They're already prepping so that if there's another situation where there's 9-3 teams compared against 10-2 or 11-1, they're already kind of prepping that argument going into it.
Well, it's the one that sort of broke through the noise, which was just Greg's had a couple positions at the podium recently where he's just going to you can tell he's a little bit agitated.
Oh yeah.
They
haven't had a team in the championship game in the last 2 years. I mean, that's
why he's cranky.
Yeah.
So cranky Greg, he threw out there's not a team in the country that would want to trade with one of our SEC schedules. A lot of that, oh yeah, if this is so easy, why don't you trade schedules with us? The other thing is this is 2 times now in the last 3 months that he's gotten particularly agitated at Big 12 Commissioner Brett Yormark, which is, they're going to make for some great college football playoff meetings that we have at, the fancy resorts with the amazing lunch breaks, coming up in the next months or so. But he said Brett Yormark, he says he's doubled down. He said, well, that's a gambling term, and we've got the best hand. Ooh, zinger. Landed just as good as when you said it in the mirror, Cranky Greg. Let's go.
Please get here, college football season.
I know.
I think there's a reason we didn't go to SEC, and it's because it's all talked out. They have spring meetings, and then Sankey talks every week about something. Like he has nothing new to say this week. That doesn't mean what he's saying is wrong. I think he's exactly right. The 8-game schedule the SEC plays is tougher than the Big Ten 9-game schedule on average, and by a lot. Right? It just is. There's a lot more non-competitive teams in the Big Ten than there are the SEC. The top of the Big Ten has also been way better than the top of the SEC over the last couple of years. So kind of depends on how you want to judge the league. But your average game, I think your aggregate schedule is tougher on an 8 than it is in the Big Ten 9, especially when you add in the fact that they do have, play one of the P4 requirement. It's not so much better that it automatically makes your 9-3 better than somebody else's 10-2. Who you are actually matters. We're not playing generic SEC schedules. Some of these schedules are much lighter than somebody else, right? That's just kind of like Texas last year. Did they have any good wins in the regular season? I guess at A&M it was decent, but it wasn't amazing. Right. So I don't think they're cowards for not playing 9 games. In fact, I wish the Big Ten would go back to 8 because that would mean we have more connectivity between leagues. Mm-hmm. But that probably is not going to happen. So also is it kind of weird that he responds to Yormark all the time?
Yes.
He don't want a bit of doubt in his position that he constantly has to try to refute Yormark. Just let
go after the Big Ten.
You really got the best hand. Just let Yormark say whatever the hell he wants and just Petitti's not doing this.
Well, he also had to remind everybody.
He doesn't talk to anybody though. That's the thing.
Right, but I don't. Publicly. I know people want Petitti to start talking. I get it. As media probably shouldn't say cool, but if Sankey really thought he had the best hand, maybe he does think he has the best hand. Probably should. I think he does. But do you have to constantly say it? Just all right, cool. We'll see what happens.
He also
Look
said,
at that.
reminder, based on the memorandum of understanding, we are the ones who get to decide what this is.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
so step down. You already agreed to this. Yeah, I like Brandon Marcello and many others. I think had something similar, but it's like the year is 2059. Like AI is taken over, and we are still debating whether the SEC should go from 8 to 9 games from 8 games. I mean, the eternal argument with no answer and no movement. So I did that part of it. And any comments about, you talk a lot about a super league. Well, welcome to it. This is the super league. We are the super conference.
I do think it's something of an upset, though, that they haven't expanded. Just the way that this sport has worked in the last however many years with realignment, like everything's being driven by television. Like a ninth SEC game is going to be far more attractive to ESPN as far as paying you money to broadcast it than your non-con game against South Florida.
Yep.
So to me, it is somewhat of a surprise they haven't gone yet. Like, and it shows how kind of steadfast the coaches and the schools are in the fact that they are terrified of playing themselves.
Interesting. Tom, what are you looking for, or is there anything that stood out to you from the early ongoings there in Atlanta?
I mean, nothing interesting has really stood out. It's kind of like Bud just talked. The SEC's always talking. Like, there's really not going to be anything interesting, I think, from Sankey's perspective. I think if we get anything interesting out of the SEC media days, it will be something from a coach or a player. Like, that just says something that you don't expect them to say on mic.
Like Scott Frost.
Look at what Pete Thamel was tweeting. Like, this is newsworthy. South Carolina quarterback Lenore Sellers on what would happen if South Carolina reached the playoff and advanced. I don't think Columbia would ever sleep. He compared it to the celebration of the women's basketball team winning the national title. Like, that's Pete Thamel tweeting that? That tells you there's no news out of this thing. Like, holy cow, that's not worth tweeting.
They wouldn't sleep because they'd be up all night worried they have to play Illinois again.
That's I mean, McMurphy's like, Nussmeier says the SEC is the toughest conference football. I don't care what anyone says. Like, these are like,
no one said anything.
Long-time reporters thinking like that's what we need. And I'm not like, I like Pete and I like Brett, but like, that tells you right there ain't nothing worth talking about so far 2 hours into this thing.
Well, how about this one on the attendees front? Is it a big deal that Bo Pribula is not there with Missouri, or is that part of the transfer quarterback gets a pass situation?
Could just be a transfer thing, yeah.
I think that's
he hasn't played much either.
I'm fairly confident Bo Pribula will be Missouri's starting quarterback.
Okay.
I'm less confident he'll be good, but yeah.
What about DJ
Missouri
Lagway?
fans? I'm not the only one that hates you on this show. Come on now.
What about
don't yell at me
Lagway?
anymore?
Were you surprised he wasn't there?
He is there.
Oh, he is one of them?
Yeah, they sent him.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I'm looking at, let me see.
They sent Caleb Banks, Jake
I
Slaughter,
see him.
DJ
I see him.
Lagway.
Gotcha. I see it.
I'll tell you, Lenore Sellers, probably going back to the Haynes King situation. And it's one of the great things that I like about this podcast and the different positions that we can take, because, Bud, I do think that you have rightly turned our attention to some pieces of the depth chart and of the South Carolina roster, which might need replenishing in a way that is, maybe you shouldn't just get your eyes all fixated on Lenore Sellers. But you know what's funny, Bud? I love talking about Lenore Sellers. It's the same thing with Haynes King. Like, you make a lot of good points about the tackles that are gone and Singleton not having the shifty slot guy who can take your half a air yard pass and take it 60 yards to the house. But you know what? I love talking about Haynes King because it's just fun stuff to talk about. These are really exciting players. These are names that we know. We'll wait until win total time to come through and let you know that maybe you should be going under on that number.
Where do you think Lenore Sellers ranked in my UQBR?
Ooh.
Ranks where?
Among returners or like total?
Just overall, out of 122 qualified quarterbacks.
Top 15?
30th.
Higher than Jennings. I'm going to say 25th.
70th.
Whoa.
Yeah, his bad is pretty bad. That's
loses
like
a lot of yards when he gets sacked.
Yeah. That's again like the whole like people want to point out the clips out there, and I think Sellers is a really good quarterback. South Carolina rightfully paid up for him, but like I don't think that like some of the sack avoidance clips are incredible, but I do think he does not consistently slide in the pocket well and just have like the little subtle nuance stuff that allows him to buy a little more time to throw well enough. Mm-hmm. Also, like he's got some games and Illinois saw it and Illinois exposed him. Like the reading the defense thing is a real issue there, and Illinois was like, we're gonna run like there's a couple concepts here, and how many times did he throw that negative EV check down to number 3 after like one's not open, doesn't really see 2, not confident in it. Illinois baits him to throw that little short check down to the wide side of the field. They tackle it for a yard. Like, it's a completion. It's also a negative expectation play for your team. Like, there's a lot of work to be done there. And he's going to have to carry that team because the defense is going to take a huge step back.
Agree with that. Tom, Bud, Danny, or anybody, what else are you looking for? Throw me a team or a coach that's on your watch list where maybe you're not dialed in for every single second of the press conference, but is there anyone that you're interested to hear from? If we're not going to get a lot of big level, high level college football playoff or conference schedule stuff, what's a team or a coach that you're interested to hear it from?
Hugh Freeze.
Yep.
I want somebody to ask him about golf.
They will. Somebody has
Did
to.
all the scores go into your again? Like that again?
I just for the levity, I want there to be just a fun little exchange.
I think he would have fun with it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he'll laugh about it. He's not going to get mad.
No.
Yeah. Brian Kelly, I saw was having a little bit of a, I speak for the trees moment. Talk about like, this is still, we're still trying to graduate guys, like this is still college a lot. This is a time for, to speak on the professionalism. What is it? Was it last year? We don't buy players, something along those lines. So is BK feeling the heat? Maybe.
You saw what he said about the 90 million?
Yeah, give it to me.
He said, yeah, I gave $1 million last offseason. I'm not doing that every offseason. about the NIL stuff. 90 million guaranteed, by the way.
Wow.
They sent out a press release about Brian Kelly giving to their own NIL. He comes back this year and says like,
nope.
Nah, I didn't like my return.
Did you see that team last year? I'm not giving them another $1 million. What did they use that money on?
I'll tell you what. This team is going to have to win a season opener before I give more money to the NIL, okay? It's like, Brian, you're the coach. It's your job to get them ready for the season opener.
He gave that money for Underwood, and then Underwood went to Michigan, and he's like, not doing it again.
They put Clemson Tiger Paws on the bags they hit in the weight room and also put 1-0 on things to increase emphasis on focusing on winning your opener, which last year they lost to USC, and then they lost to Florida State twice in a row to open the year in 23 and 22. So, starting with a win would be helpful, certainly.
I'm kind of curious to hear from this week is Kirby.
Yeah.
And I know they're it's them in Texas or the odds makers, and they'll probably be a trendy pick, but I just feel like he's got one of those years where, remember the year when they won it all and they were talking about, everyone said we were going to be 7-5. I feel like they're kind of flying under the radar. I think he's a little surly. I think he's just kind of, I think he can have his team pretty riled up and ready to go.
I don't know if that's it. I think that there are more. This is in the context of Georgia football.
Right.
I think there are more concerns about their team this year than they've had probably any time in recent years.
Okay, so I have a question to ask you guys about Georgia. I think I'd be willing to accept the argument that Georgia is a deserving preseason favorite, but I think there's a difference between that and Georgia being the expected postseason favorite for the SEC. And by that, I mean, Gunnar Stockton does not have high-level ability. Okay, and Kirby can clip this all he wants. I don't care. Like, listen, if you listen to the NFL podcast that NFL.com does, they were like, yeah, Stockton's a competitive guy. Basically, like they're saying coming out the Manning camp, like he doesn't have any tools. Like he's jag, as far as physical ability. I think the odds that whoever wins the SEC is somebody who's a legitimate, like NFL big-time quarterback who we don't know who it is right now, but between like Arch and Lagway and Nussmeier and a couple other guys like that, the chance that one of those dudes actually does hit and stay healthy, I think that makes it like a lot harder for me to say, yeah, Georgia's going to take this because Stockton's going to be Stetson Bennett. Like I don't know who it's going to be yet, but I have a hard time seeing somebody win the SEC this year with a non-NFL quarterback, and I don't think Stockton's an NFL guy. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, last year we had a 7th round pick and Carson Beck / Gunnar Stockton playing for it. I don't think winning the Southeastern Conference requires that day 1, day 2 NFL draft talent.
when you've got their talent on defense.
Right. Yeah. And
that's where I get concerned with this team. And again, this is all in the context of Georgia. Like they might only be 9-3. Like to me, that is the worst case scenario. But they've got a new quarterback. They've pretty much got an entirely new offensive line. Like they have 5-star talent on that roster, but they just don't have that kind of experience yet. Whereas like the last few years, they've always had an experienced offensive line. This year, they don't. Like you lost, like the core of that offensive line last year was the interior. Those guys are gone.
Yep.
So you're gonna have new starters there. It's like I just don't know if they will be as ruthless as a killing machine as we're so accustomed to Georgia being. Like they might be 9-3.
They look good getting off the bus, and that's
probably
probably
their chemistry now that Carson Beck's gone.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's why Kirby probably is going to be focused on the intangibles and trying to fire these guys up and hoping that the chemistry is better because, I mean, they still have more bodies that are unlike anybody else in the country. Like they have it. So can they get them all to play together and play well? Then hell yeah.
Yeah, like this is they have a national title ceiling. It's just I think that ceiling is less likely to hit this year than normal.
I'll be curious. When the blue chip ratio is coming out when?
Likely later this week. I just talked to Jack.
Because I think, and we were talking about this on the recruiting when we talked a little bit about the recruiting, some of the 5-stars spreading out. Are we starting to see it spread a little bit out more and not the 89, 90% blue chip ratio squads?
Well,
or not yet?
Not quite yet. I think the main thing that you would credit for Georgia here is like, they have just done a poor job in the portal. Georgia fans, listen here. A poor job in the portal relative to how good they are in high school. So their high school standard is insane. Their portal standard is just very average by SEC standards. They're not special in the portal so far under Kirby. I think that changes this year. I think they got it right. I think I like their receivers. Like Tom's totally right to point out the offensive line stuff, but I do think the receivers, especially like the receivers who will actually be on the field, which they lost both their outside guys last year to off-field stuff, pretty early on. I think they're going to be much better at receiver this year than they were last year. But I would say, like, that's what has held them back from being insanely good the last 2 years. Just misses in the portal, like guys who are not special.
One last thing before we get out of here. Sometimes when at media days, it comes from the podium. Sometimes it comes from Radio Row. Wait, what? Is Nick Saban coming back? What is this?
All right. So I saw this quote during the show. I guess Greg McElroy this morning on his Mac and Cube show. He said a person, quote, in the know believes Nick Saban will return to coaching. And McElroy followed it up with and said, if it wasn't someone notable, I would never say a word.
Does his contract coming up?
That's what I was wondering, but he only did a 1-year deal, right? I mean, unless he did a 1-year deal. That was the first thought across my mind.
This is the Jimmy Sexton playbook, right?
Right, exactly.
He turns 75 years old next season. Who is hiring a 75-year-old Nick Saban for? Like, he's gonna be 75 in year 1.
Whoa, easy. I know a lot of people that would hire a 75-year-old Nick Saban. If North Carolina just hired Bill Belichick, absolutely give me 75-year-old Nick Saban.
Is Belichick 75?
No, he's 70. Is he older? Hold on.
I mean, Belichick hired Saban for the Cleveland Browns, right? So I assume he's probably older.
Are you on it?
No, I'm not typing because I'm going to yell at my mic's picking it up today.
No, sorry, that was me.
Okay.
I was not looking it up.
And where would he go? Belichick 73.
I mean, I will say this. Saban,
I covered one. Like 75, I think the energy level is just not there.
I mean, I don't want to get political, but there is somebody running our country has energy we've never seen from somebody close to 80. Like, I think there's a different era. Like, I think he is a young. How do we figure out how old he is? I think he's Saban. He's 75.
He'll be 75 next year, like next football season. So he's obviously not coaching anywhere this year. I'm 74? Saying, like, by the time he would be coaching for you, he'd be 75 in year 1.
His birthday is
always
always
74 on Halloween.
Yeah, on how
His
He'd
birthday
have
is
to
Halloween.
figure out. He'd have to do a Coach Bowden, like where you start. He can't be the coach that he was, as hands-on and as,
I don't know if he knows another way to do it.
Right. That's the thing where I don't know. But I mean, how many schools would sign up for him? Like, the list would be pretty long, right?
Yes. How many schools would not?
Right.
I don't think any SEC school would hire a 75-year-old Nick Saban.
Mississippi State would.
But would he want that job? See, that's the thing. That's why
I'm
just trying to figure out who
crazy
would.
resource advantage.
I'm not looking at this from Nick's side. I'm just saying which teams would be interested. I think Mississippi State 100% would.
But I don't think he would take that job.
No, because that's like a 3 or 4 year rebuild. He'd be 80.
Right.
Would LSU trade
Whoa,
Brian
baby, now we're
Kelly?
talking.
Yeah.
Now we're talking. Run it back.
Would LSU trade Brian Kelly for Nick Saban?
It depends on how this year goes, but I would say in a heartbeat, if they're 9-3 again, they would take him back all day long.
Didn't Brian Kelly beat Nick Saban? Like,
correct, but he
Bama
doesn't
towards
have
the
the
end there was
title.
kind of slipping a little bit, guys. Like, it was not the same Bama the last 2 years.
Brian,
He'll be 4 years removed from that.
Brian Kelly is 63 years old. You've already entered, another generation. What's 74 to 63?
74 is the new 64.
There you go.
There you go.
There you go. Would Florida
That
trade
would be
Billy?
a very LSU thing to do under their AD. It's like, just go hire the biggest name possible. You know?
And you got I'd say you have a 3 to 5 year window, and you just say, we're going to try to get another one.
Yeah. What? And it'd be worth it.
Yeah.
What about Florida? Florida would trade Billy Napier for Nick Saban.
No, I don't think so. Because I think the reason they kept Napier is because Lagway's camp is so tight with Napier.
Right, but I'm saying in the in the less specific. You were like, Genie shows up and says, "I'm going to take your Billy Napier and I'm going to leave you with the Nick Saban."
Has any coach been remotely decent at 75?
Bill Snyder.
Bill Snyder, I was going to say, didn't he?
He was still competing for.
Well, how old was Coach Bowden? His best last year was probably 75, right? I mean, because he was 80 when he was done.
He was slipping hard by like 07, 08, or and he was 09 was his last year.
Yeah.
Like 04.
Paterno?
The thing is, that's not Coach Bowden starting from scratch. That's Coach Bowden still recruiting on 25 years of, hey, look what we did here.
But that's why I think this list is really small, and that's why I think Chip nailed it with LSU might be the only one of places where you feel like he would be inheriting a good situation, not a dumpster fire, because he doesn't want to rebuild. I mean, Auburn.
The chat's got one.
West Virginia.
Well, actually, I think the Auburn one is great, especially if Auburn boosters are really sitting on their wallets, like some people think right now.
Oh my gosh,
that would be huge.
No way.
Tech.
No, because that jeopardizes Coach Saban's connections. We can't burn the bridges that have him getting that lifetime passes anywhere he wants to go.
All right. Yeah. Texas Tech is a real good one, though. Saban has always done, he's done well when he's only done well places that had really, really, really huge resource advantages. That then he was super smart about leveraging them and finding creative ways to leverage those resource advantages. He's not an underdog role guy. Texas Tech probably spends more money than the next 2 or 3 Big 12 teams combined. So you get him in there, more CEO style. I could see that happening for sure.
It would have to be an SEC school, though, because Nick got his ass kicked in the Big Ten.
That's true.
It wasn't
Michigan? What about Michigan?
Ooh.
Yeah. Yeah. If they just wanted to do it for a few years, yes.
Hi, I'm Nick Saban here for Oracle. Yeah, dude.
I mean, they got the money to pay.
Looking at Bryce Underwood, he does a good escapability. We can get him and go to the national title. Full hibachi hands.
There was a player I played against who reminds me of Bryce Underwood quite a bit. 2010.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Cam Newton, he was a real pain in my ass. Yeah, there we go. All right.
I could listen to Chip do Saban with the hands. It's more watch Chip do Saban. He's got it with the hands.
Hands. Hibachi hands. All right. We are going to be back. More SEC Media Day reaction coming your way on Wednesday. Thursday, big old bag of mail. Be sure to get those in. We're going to grab some from the Apple podcast as well as the Spotify comments. Spotify comments have been just absolutely hitting. We appreciate that large and growing audience there. But our day ones, we're not going to leave you hanging. As always, you can submit those mailbag question ideas to us individually as well. We will throw it in the big old bag of mail. And you can follow him on Twitter at Tom Fornelli. You can follow him at Bud Elliott 3. You can follow him at Danny Kanell. You can follow me at Chip _Patterson. Gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you.
See y'all.
See ya.